myself and Bhavika ma'am, both of us will be teaching you computer networks. And before going through the actual topic, let me give some introduction about the computer network. So, can you tell me what you expect from this course? What do you mean by computer? Are you using it? Computer networks, networking information, the protocols, learning about HTTP protocol and all that. Okay. So as we know that network, yes, how internet works, the different models, yes. So what many of you have answered it may not be the exact what I was expecting. Yes, may not be exactly what I am expecting, but some up to some extent you are all right. Fine. Uh, Now, in this, are you able to see the screen? Okay, fine. So throughout this semester, we'll be using, pardon, what is it? Okay, fine. So you can, wherever I'm going fast, you let me know, fine. Okay, so throughout this semester, in this in this subject, we'll be using Andrew S. Tenenbaum textbook. That is the recommended textbook. The title of the textbook is Computer Networks. And the reference book, which sometimes we'll be using, it is Data Communication and Networking by Forozen. Okay, these are the two textbooks, or you can say these are the books which we'll be using throughout our semester. Right? So whenever we switch to some other book, we'll let you know. Right? So we'll first start with the introduction of this subject. The author's name is Tenenbaum. Let me. Uh, Andrew S. Tenenbaum. This is the textbook name is Computer Networks. And the other one is the Forozen, Data Communication and Networking. Data Communication and Networking by Forozen. So these are our two books which we will use to refer throughout our course, right? Now we'll see the two reference models which are provided. One is the OSI reference model, the other one is a TCP/IP reference model. So this among this, the first one is the OSI reference model. OSI means what? It is the Open System Interconnect. OSI stands for Open System Interconnect. It refers to the interconnection of the networks. Okay, and this OSI reference model was introduced by the ISO. ISO refers to International Standards of International Organization of Standards, or it is also known as the International Standard Organization. So ISO has devised a reference model which is known as a OSI reference model. Now, actually, the computer networks itself, it is bit complex. It has both the hardware as well as the software. Okay, so since it is having both the hardware as well as software which comes into picture while we are performing this networking, the ISO has introduced this OSI reference model. So here they use the term open system. Open system means what? The devices are able to connect openly. Means one device can be connected to the other device. Okay, and they will be able to interact with each other. So that is nothing but the open system. Fine. Any device, the communication can be done between any two devices. Okay. Whereas usually in the closed system, the only specific standards or only specific communication can be done within the two devices. Okay. It cannot be the general type of communication. Whereas in open system, two systems can interconnect with each other and they'll be able to communicate with each other. Okay. So we'll first see what are the basis of the OSI reference model. Okay, so hello. 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 Am I audible now? I had lost my connection. Okay, fine. Fine. So let me share my screen. Okay. So the basis of this OSI model, why there are number of layers, because as we know that the entire computer network itself is bit complex and it has to be dealt. It has both the hardware as well as software. So the ISO has devised this OSI reference model. For this OSI reference model, the entire this network software is divided into number of layers. To make the problem more simpler, the entire project has been divided into number of layers. Okay, and each layer has to perform specific function. Fine. So the principles for the 7 layers are the layers created for whatever the layers which are created, each layer should have different abstraction. Okay, fine. So every layer should have different abstraction. Then every layer should perform some well-defined function. Okay, the layer each layer should be designed in such a way that each of them should perform some well-defined function. Okay, so no two layers should have the same should perform the same function, or it should not happen that a single function should be performed by more than one layers, and so on. Okay, each layer should perform well-defined function, and all these functions should be prepared such that it should have some standard protocols. So, and these protocols should be internationally standard. Okay, so it is not that each layer should each function of each layer should perform certain function, so that the protocols the standards, or it has to keep in mind about the standards of these protocols. Fine. Then the number of layers should be such that the information which is flowing from one layer to the other layer, it should be as minimum as possible. Fine. And even the number of layers should be not that, the size of the layers or the number of layers should not be that big so that the model should be more complicated. Fine. So what is the essence of this? That the number of layers should be as minimum as possible. Okay, it should be optimum. If the number of layers are too large, then it would become more complex. The information flow between the two layers, between the layers, should be as minimum as possible. Okay, so the boundaries, between the boundaries, it should be as minimum as possible. So that will come. See, every say suppose you are having a very big project. Okay, that project can be divided into number of sub projects. Do you agree to this? Okay, so that it is something like that. Here we are having a big project, that is the network software has to be developed. That network software has to be it is divided into number of sub layers. Okay, and every layer, so that I'm coming to why you are so much hurrying. Okay, every layer would have its own function, and those functions should it should be defined based upon their standard protocols, and that is international standard protocols should be there. Now next we'll come to the OSI reference model. Okay, this is the OSI reference. These are the reasons why we are having the seven layers. Okay, now the number of layers which we are discussing are provided here. Say suppose this is my host A. These two are two different computers, host A as well as host B. Fine. Say one is residing somewhere at India, the other is in the US, because the communication can be carried out between any two hosts. Now these seven layers which are defined by the OSI is given like this: application layer, presentation layer, session layer, transport layer, network layer, data link layer, and the physical layer. Now you can see that from this physical layer, a network cable or a physical communication is carried out between this physical layer and the physical layer of this subnet. Subnet refers to a part of the network which may have certain routers. Fine. So here the user who wants to send certain message to the user B, user A is here, user B is here, then that message will pass through all these layers, and when it reaches to the physical layer, it would be communicated to, it would be passed to the next to the physical layer of either of this subnet, or you can say this is the router. Fine. Now here you can see that all these three layers, the network layer, data link layer, as well as the physical layer, these are communicating with its just neighbor which is within the network. Are you getting me? Say suppose I am working in some say suppose computer engineering department. Fine. And I'm having certain I'm sitting it in the lab number 8. Now whenever I want to transfer some data, I'll be passing through this physical layer. So there would be some cable or some transmission media, and here it is not that, and I want to send some message to my friend who is staying somewhere at Delhi. Now directly I don't have a physical connection from my system to the friend who is staying at Delhi, isn't it? So that has to be passed through number of routers, and then it has to and eventually it would be passed to my friend. Fine. So for this you can see that the application or the message which is sent through the application layer by a host, it in this router, it is not passed through the till the application layer. Here the router is having only these three layers. Okay, so my message, it would be transferred from my system to the router of my lab 8, and it would be moving, that message would be moving from again physical layer to the data link layer to the network layer, and so on. Again it would be coming back, and it would again move from once again physical layer, data link layer, network layer, and again it would be coming down, and then it would be reaching when it reaches, that message is reached to the host B, it would reach to the application layer, and then it would be delivered to my friend. Hope you are getting this. So actually, yes, physical layer, the actually, wait, let me, physical layer cannot be directly connected to, yes. So each layer is connected to its peer, not to other. So this physical layer we may not be able to connect to the data link layer. This physical layer may not be connected to the network layer of the other system. Is it clear, Keval? Okay. So all these layers. So here also the transport layer is connected to the peer transport layer of the host B. Fine. So now when the message is passing from application layer to the presentation layer and so on, when it is moving from top to the bottom, and the connection is done from between the physical layer of the host A to the router. Again, the connection is physical connection is made between physical layer of the router to the other physical layer of the router, and so on. Okay, and the data is passed only from one peer it would be communicated between the peer layers, not between the other layers. Okay, and the services, the purpose of each layer is to provide the service to the upper layer. So the purpose of the physical layer is to provide the service to the data link layer. The purpose of the data link layer is to provide the service to the network layer. Is this thing clear? Now, at the physical layer, the data is it is represented as bits. You can see that the same message, it can be represented at different layers by different names. So at the physical layer, they are represented as bits. At the data link layer, these are known as the frames. Then at the network layer, they use the term as packet. Then this is transport protocol data unit, session protocol data unit, and so on. Okay, these are the units which are used, the names of the units which are provided to each of these layers. All right. Okay, so here the lower order 3 layers, they only interact with their neighboring routers. It doesn't mean that they are directly not connected with the destination host. Fine. Whereas the upper layer uh, protocols, which will be studying, they are peer-to-peer, and actually the end-to-end connection is there between the transport layer of host A to the host B. Session layer protocol is connected by host A to the session layer protocol of host B, and so on. So actually these are not the physical connection, but these are all the virtual connection between the peer entities. Whereas here the actual physical connection is only after this physical layer. Some physical connection would be there either through the wire or through the we may have some satellite transmission or radio transmission, etc. So these are the different ways of transmission from one physical layer to the other physical layer of the network. Hope everyone is clear with this, at least up to this part. Okay. Now we'll see each the function of each layer later. Before that, see, this is how say suppose this is the host A and this is host B. Fine. Now host A is transmitting certain message, that is, say suppose the light the brown part shows some message, and at every layer it will add some header based upon that. For example, here D7 is there, so this application layer would put certain header, that is, say H7. This is a 7th layer and it is providing some header onto this. So this complete thing is provided to the next layer. Okay, D6 layer or 6th layer you can say, and here this, including this header, it would form it assumes that it is the data, and it would add some more header information with this data. Are you getting this? This combined D7 as well as H7 would form D6, and this would add some more information based upon the function of this layer. It would add some more header part to this particular D6. Similarly, again, the entire H6 D6 would form this. If I say this is a session protocol data unit, and when it moves here, that the header of the next layer, that is a transport layer, can be provided, and then for the next layer again this would be combined, and header of this would be at the network layer it would provide, then at the data link layer, then the physical layer, and so on. Okay, so now once this is done, you can see that actually this is just a model. This is just a model. It is not that D7, D6, D5, D4. Are you getting this? Every layer is just adding the header to the data which is coming from the upper layer. Are you getting this? Here what we have done, as I said, the data is passing from one layer to the other layer, and every layer it attaches some header part to the data, and the header which is attached by the application layer to the data, it would form the new data for the presentation layer, and that in turn it would again join, or it would provide some more header information, and every layer would add their own header part, and when it then it comes to the physical layer, and then the zeros and ones would be transmitted from the physical layer to the other layers. So this is what it describes. Hope this is clear. Okay, so through the communication channel or through the transmission media, the data in zeros and ones would be transmitted, and when it receives at this receiving end, this is the header and this is the trailer. If something is connected at the end of this, the data, it is known as a trailer. Are you getting this? Header means it is connected before this data. Trailer means after the data. So we'll see what are all these as we go further. Hope you are getting this. Okay, trailer means some more information is provided by this D2 layer, which is known as a trailer. Now, once at the receiving end the data is received, some part is removed. Here you can see that when it moves from here to here, this part is removed. Now when it moves from one layer to the next layer at the top, then this header information would be removed. Are you getting this? So everywhere the header information would be removed by each of the layer, and at the end only D7 would be delivered to this host system. T2 is, yes, actually this T2 is nothing but the checksum. You know what is checksum? We have learned about this parity bits or Hamming codes, etc. So to ensure that the data is not erroneous, some checksum is added here. So that we'll see. So that forms my trailer. Is this clear, Abhi? Okay. And how about this? Have you understood? Every layer would add their own header at the transmitting end when the message is flowing from application layer towards the physical layer, and when that data is moving from physical layer towards the application layer near the at the receiving end, their corresponding headers would be removed at each of the steps, and only the message D7 would be passed to the host B. Is this thing clear, everyone, at least? Okay. Okay. So next we'll see about the OSI reference model and what each layers would do. Okay. So we'll start with the first layer, that is the physical layer. So what is the function of the physical layer? So as I said, from the physical layer, the raw data would be transferred through the communication channel. So now, so what does this physical layer will do? So the raw data, that is ones and zeros. Now based upon the communication channel, if it is, say, suppose fiber optic cable, are you getting this? So how this ones and zeros should be represented? If the light is on, then it is 1. If the light is off, it implies it is 0. Are you getting this? Fiber optic cable. So the transmission media is light. Okay. So if light is on, it implies it is logic 1. And if it is off, it implies it is logic 0. Or else, say suppose if I'm having some cable, some Ethernet cable or something like the copper wire if I'm having, then I have to send some electrical signal, either 1 or 0. Says 1 is represented by plus 5 volt and 0 can be represented by 0 volt. Okay, that can also be done. So all these things would be decided by the physical layer. Then the pulse width. Okay, what should be the duration? What should be the size of the pulse width? Okay, that should also be decided by the physical layer. So the how each 1 and 0 should be represented, what should be the duration of each of the pulse, then whether we are having a simplex or duplex. Simplex means what? Whether the communication has to be carried out only in one direction or it can be carried out in both the direction. That is also decided at the physical layer. Then apart from these things, apart from the type of signals, etc., it should also deal with the number of pins of the connector. So say suppose you are having RJ45 connector. Okay. So what should be the, how many number of pins should be there in this connector? Okay. And what is the function of each of this pin? So that is all taken care by this physical layer. Is this thing clear? What are the objectives or what are the functions of the physical layer? What are the functions? What are the functions of the physical layer? To indicate how to show logic 1 as well as logic 0. Then the size, the pulse width, duration of the pulse. Very good. Then yes, what is the voltage, whether it is simplex or duplex, whether I mean the data is transferred in one direction or both the direction. Then if you are having some connectors, what are the function of each of the pins of the connector and what signals the connector would pass, etc. So all these are the examples, or all these are the function of the physical layer. Now, once the physical layer layer is we have dealt. Now, next we'll see about the data link layer. Okay. So now, as we have discussed here, this is the physical media through which the data is transferred. Now, actually, the data link layer, the data which it is getting from the higher order layer, for it comes to the data link layer. The function of the data link layer is to break this data into data frames. So the data which it is coming, so if it becomes too large, it would break this into the data frames or small pieces, and each piece is known as a frame. So this we have discussed. Here we have, you can see that at the data link layer, we used the name as frames. Okay. So these frames, the data is divided into number of pieces which are known as frames, and for that it has to check the whether there are any error in the data. Okay, it has to provide the trailer, as just now we have discussed. At the data link layer, we are having both the header as well as the trailer. So the trailer would contain the checksum. For every frame, the checksum is calculated, and then through the physical layer, the data along with the checksum would be transmitted. Now, at the receiving end, what happens? Again, the data frame would be received. Using the checksum, it will find whether the data frame what it has received is without any error. Are you getting this? And since it has divided the data into data frames. Now here it has to recombine those data frames. Are you getting me? Hello. Okay. So for every data frame, there would be certain checksum would be found out, and here at the receiving end, it will find out, it will check for the errors, and it would combine those data frames, and it would pass to the next layers. Okay. Then it can also confirm the receipt of the proper data to the receiving end. Are you getting this? So once the data is transferred from host A to the host B, now it is the job of the host B to tell that the data has been received properly to the host A. Okay, so such acknowledgement frame should also be provided by the data link layer. Now, it may happen that the buffer space of this receiving end is too small, and this host is trying to pour the data. In such case, it may send an acknowledgement by the receiver may send an acknowledgement saying that it doesn't have enough buffer space to accommodate all these data frames, so to slow down the rate of transmission. So here even this congestion control, you cannot say congestion control, so this it would slow down the transmission of the data frames to this host B based upon the acknowledgement signal which it receives from host B. Okay, so these are the function of the data link layer. So in short, if I say what the function of the data link layer is to get the error-free messages, okay, as well as what is the other step? To control or to regulate the traffic of the frames, regulate the traffic of the frames, and break into the data frames, checking the error. So that's what error messages, that's what I was telling about. Then in case if we are having a broadcast network, what do you mean by broadcast network? That means the sender is one and the receiver might be many. Okay, okay, multiple receivers might be there. So in case if we are having a broadcast network, in that case it is a function of the data link layer to tell, now say suppose if more than one senders are there and all of them want to broadcast, in that case it is a function of the data link layer to decide whose turn it is. Okay, so and that is carried out by a sublayer of this data link layer which is known as a MAC sublayer. Are you getting this? The data link layer, the MAC sublayer would decide whose turn it is while it is sending the data using a broadcast network. So this is about the data link layer. The next layer is the network layer. In case of network layer, as I said, in here you can see that this network layer, its function is to route the packets. Okay, so you can see that the data unit in the network layer is the packet. So it controls the operation of the subnet. The network layer would control the operation in the subnet, and the main function of the network layer is to route the packet which it comes from host A at, because there might be number of routers which are in between this here no doubt it is shown only 2 routers, but there might be number of routers which are between these 2 routers. So the incoming packet where it should be routed, so that is decided by this network layer. Routers are responsible for network layer. The switches would be of the data link layer, or or the physical layer, you can say. Yes. Okay. Fine. So the other function of the data network layer is to congestion control. The other function of the network is to congestion control. That means if there are number of routers which are coming between host A to the host B, it should happen that it should pass the packets in the direction of the destination, and if there are number of such paths are already present between the router as well as host B, then it has to find out which is the one which is having lower traffic, and based upon that it would transfer that particular packet to the destination. Hope you are getting this thing. Okay, so and then other function is the other parameter or other purpose of this network layer is quality of service. So the entire network's quality is based on the quality of service of the network layer. So the various parameters of this quality of service is delay. So after how much time the data would be provided to the would be received at the destination, that is nothing but the delay. Then jitter, it implies that since we are having a single message is divided into number of packets, okay, as in the frames also it is divided into number of data frames, here also we are having number of packets, and all these packets would be routed independently. It is not that, say suppose this is from the same message packet 1, from the same message packet 2, and from the same message packet 3, etc. It is not necessary that all these packets should route or should follow the same path to the destination. Okay, so all of them may arrive at the destination using different paths, and they may reach to the destination at different instant of time. Okay, so this delay or this difference of, say suppose this used 5 millisecond to reach to the destination, this may take 7 millisecond and so on. So the variation in this time to reach to the destination is nothing but the jitter. Hope you are getting this. Delay, jitter. So these are some of the parameters which deals with the qualities of service of the network layer. Fine. So now what are the problems which are faced by the various packets at the network layer? So different systems may use different addressing ways. The addressing method might be different. They may have various different addressing modes or addressing ways to represent address. It would be something else, okay, for one machine to the other machine. Then the size of the packet, if the size of the packet for host A is the maximum size of the packet, let it be 512 bytes, but the routers may not accept the packet greater than 256 bytes. Okay, in that case what happens, the communication, I mean some of the packets might be lost within the network. So all these things should be taken care by the network layer. Hope everyone is clear with this. Hello. Fine. So this was about the network layer. Next comes jitter. Jitter means the difference of time for reaching each of the packet at the destination. Some may reach at 5 milliseconds, the other may reach at 7 milliseconds, the other third may reach at 3 milliseconds. So the difference of time, all these are transmitted during the same time, but at the receiving end, they are received at different interval of time. Is it clear? Yes. Okay, so that is nothing but the jitter, and this is due to that all these packets are not following the same path. They are independent. All of them are using different paths to reach to the destination. Okay, so that's why yeah, there would be time difference, and that is nothing but the jitter. The next layer is the transport layer. As we have seen that these three layers, they are communicating with only its neighbors, either the router, etc. whereas the true end-to-end communication is carried out by these layers: transport layer, session layer, presentation layer, and the application layer. In this transport layer, it has to provide the service to its upper layer, that is the session layer. Fine. The transport layer is actually an end-to-end communication, and here the data unit, that is TPDU, that is transport protocol data unit. So these data units are either transmitted, either it can have a static route or it can have a dynamic route. Uh, sorry, sorry. This is for the network layer. I missed this one. Okay. So the routes of these packets has to be, if suppose the route is already decided that my packets has to follow a, a single route, okay, a particular route, and that route is provided before actually the data transmission is carried out, and that route is known as a static route. That irrespective of whether it is a congestion or anything like that, the route is fixed here before the transmission of packets, and that is known as a static route. Whereas uh, dynamic route refers to as and when packets arrive to any of the router, and based upon the situation of the network, the traffic in within the network, the different packets can be routed independently. So that is nothing but the dynamic route. So I missed this static route and dynamic route of this network layer. So hope this is clear. For the static route, before transmission from host A to but it in case of static route, it has to decide the route before it is transmitting. So a table should be maintained in which the entire route is provided, and no doubt it would be more faster, but it is like some extra extra work has to be done by the network layer to deal with this table, as well as it does not care about the traffic within the route. Okay. Then comes the next layer, that is the transport layer. Okay. So the function of the transport layer, it ensures that if I go through this, the at this transport layer, it has to provide the service to its upper layer, that is fine. And as we know that it is a true end-to-end communication is carried out between one transport layer to the other transport layer. Okay. And it has to decide that the communication should be error free. So suppose we are having number of processes which are running between two systems, and it is a function of the transport layer to deliver the appropriate message to the transport protocol of this particular host B. Okay. So most it is an connection oriented, and it is an error free. So connection oriented and connectionless. In case of connection oriented, before the data is transmitted, a virtual connection is established between the host A as well as host B, and the data would be transferred. So actually, no doubt it is shown like this, a virtual connection between these two, but actually the data would be transmitted in this direction. Okay. But an end-to-end connection is established between the transport layer of host A to transport layer of host B. Right? Then comes now here in this transport layer, either it can be a point-to-point channel, and the bytes are transmitted in an order. Okay, if in this case, either we may have a reliable in order transmission or in order data, transmission as receiving. So if we want in order transmission as well as in order, the data should not be manipulated. For example, here in this example, we have seen that first the data 1 is received, then say suppose data 3 is received, then data 2 is received. That means the data is in out of order. Whereas in case here it provides two type of service, either it can be in order data would be transmitted as well as received, or it can be out of order. In case of out of order, it would be connectionless. That means initially the connection is not established and data is just transmitted, and at the receiving end of the transport layer it would receive, and it is not necessary that the data should be in order. Whereas in case of transmitting end, in case of reliable type of data service or at the transport layer, it should be in the order. In the order which is transmitted, at the same order it should be received. Okay. Then comes the session layer. Okay. The function of the session layer is to manage the it is a dialogue management between transmitter as well as the receiver. It is done by the session layer. So if two hosts are connected to each other, and if they want to communicate, then whose turn is there to transfer the message, or to whose turn is there to talk, so that is decided by the session layer. The other function is of the session layer is for the synchronization. For example, say suppose if you are trying to communicate with someone, say suppose if you are watching some YouTube channel, fine, and if while watching it has crashed, okay, so you might have closed your browser. In that case, what happens? Once again, if you start, it would start from where you have left, not from starting. Okay, so this synchronization, it would keep a check where it has stopped, and from there onwards it would continue playing the video. Is it clear? Session layer, yes, checkpoint was provided by the session layer. Next, the next function of the OS, the next layer is presentation layer. So here the data which is received from the host, okay, from the application layer. So that data, either it can be presented in ASCII or EBCDIC. Then some host might be using the big endian. Some might be using little endian. You know what is big endian, little endian? You might have studied in your CSA. So all this thing would be taken care by this presentation layer. So there is not much work of the session layer and presentation layer. Okay. And the last layer, or you can say the topmost layer, is the application layer. And this layer is the layer through which the host would communicate. So most of the protocols at the application layer are HTTP, then file transfer protocol, then DNS. All these are the examples of the application layer protocol. Okay, so hope you have understood various functions of each of these layers. Any doubts on this? Okay. So in this OSI reference model, first the model was generated, and then the each of the protocols for each of them would be decided. Okay, and the implementation was not done before this model was generated. Whereas big endian, acha, see. Big endian means what? Say suppose if I'm having 4 bytes of data. Okay, and my word size of the memory, or say suppose word size of the memory is only of 1 byte. If most significant byte of this 4 bytes, if it is placed at the lowest address, then it is known as a little endian. So say suppose byte 3, byte 2, byte 1, byte 0. This is my word, 4 byte word. And if most significant byte B3 is placed at, say suppose the address 0000, then it is known as a, this B3 is placed here, B2 is placed here, B1 is placed here, and this is B0. Okay. Whereas if B0 is placed here, then it is a big endian. Is it clear? Okay. So different systems, some computers, they may use, the Intel uses big endian. Some Motorola or some AMD processors may use little endian. So if they are communicating some data like 20, 30, 40, 50, so what at the other end it would receive the data as 50, 40, 30, 20, isn't it? So this is how the presentation layer would take care about this big endian or little endian. Fine. It should not happen that the data what it is transmitting, it should be something else. It should be interpreted something else. So this was about the OSI reference model. And the next one is the TCP/IP reference model. Okay, so the OSI reference model, it was just for theory purpose, for studying of the network. The OSI reference model is most preferable because each layer shows some specific task to do. Whereas in the TCP/IP reference model, first the protocols were developed, and then based upon this these protocols, they have just fitted this reference TCP/IP reference model on those protocols. Okay, so here we are having 4 different layers: host to network layer, internet layer, transport, and the application layer. So we can give the analogy like this. The data link layer is the same as that of the host to network layer. They use the term as host to network layer. The working of internet layer is same as that of the network layer of the OSI reference model. The working of transport layer is same as that of the transport layer of the OSI reference model. And as we have seen that the work of the presentation session layer is too less, and that those are removed from this TCP/IP reference model, and then the application layer is same as that of the OSI reference model. We'll see each one of them and the working of this TCP/IP reference model. So this TCP/IP reference model was a research network, and it was sponsored by Department of Defense of USA. It was sponsored, and it was developed by ARPANET. Okay, so it was a research network. So here a research network was there, and this research network was sponsored by the Defense Department of Defense of the USA. And once it has been developed, and most of the universities and the government's offices, etc., they use this TCP/IP reference model for communication, and they use the underlying telephone networks for communicating. Okay, and as we know that earlier we had only telephone networks which the communication channel was wired, and the bandwidth of, since only voice has to be communicated, on the bandwidth of that those telephone networks were too less. Okay, whereas by the introduction of the radio communication, as well as with the introduction of the satellite communication, they have developed this which was this reference model, that is TCP/IP reference model, which was it was taking care of all these different type of communications. Okay, since it was the Department of Defense of, I mean, they have funded it or they have sponsored it. They wanted a network in which the communication between host A as well as host B should not be stopped, even if the in between network goes down. Okay, so somehow, if even if the subnet goes down, the packets which are transmitted from host A to host B should be reached to host B. Okay, so that was the aim of this developing this ARPANET. The other was that apart from only speech or only text data which has to be transferred, it has to transfer even the uh, voice. Voice, even it has to transfer some real-time voice as well as the videos can be transferred. So based upon this, the four this TCP/IP reference model came into existence, and we are having 4 different layers in this TCP/IP reference model. So very little is written about this host to network layer, and this is direct. It is same as that of the data link layer, and it is directly connected to the physical communication channel. Okay, and usually the network interface card is provided, which you all are aware. Every system, if I want to have communication or if I want to have the internet, I should have this network interface card, and the function of the network interface card is same as that of the data link layer of the OSI model as well as the physical layer of the OSI model. Fine. Next comes the internet layer. In this this internet layer is based upon the communication through this internet layer is based upon the packet switch networks. That means the data which it receives from its higher layer, it is divided into number of subunits which are known as packets. Now in this, the type of transmission at the internet layer is connectionless. That means the connection is not established between the transmitter as well as the receiver. So in this case, the receiver would be the Uh, so the internet is same as that of the network layer, isn't it? So in this, uh, uh, it is connectionless. That means the connection is not established between the transmitter as well as the receiver, and even the underlying subnet, whatever we are having between host and host A as well as host B, all these packets are transmitted independently to the towards the host B. Okay, so that means it is a packet switch network because it is the entire messages is divided into number of equal sized packets, and as well as it can be connectionless. That means all of them are independently routed. The main function of this internet layer is the routing of the packets as well as the congestion control. Okay, so in case of OSI reference model, what we have studied that the network layer has either it can have a static routing or a dynamic routing, whereas here it is not so. It is a connectionless, so it would be always dynamic. It would pass the packets without, it does not decide the route before the transmission. Fine. Then comes the transport layer. Here the transport at the transport layer, either it can provide the connectionless service or it can provide a connection oriented service. In case of correct connection oriented service, before the transmission of the data is carried out, okay, a connection is established between source and destination, and then that data is transmitted, and hence it is known as a connection oriented service. And the protocol which is used here is TCP, that is transport layer transmission control protocol. It requires communication channel. Connectionless means what? Before transmission, a dedicated path is not provided. Are you getting me? Yes. If the communication channel is not provided, then how can the data can be transmitted? Okay. So connectionless means what? Say, for example, if I give an analogy, say a telephone network is there. If I want to talk to you, okay, so I'll call you. Then a bandwidth would be allocated between you and me. Okay, so that means a connection is established between the two hosts. Are you getting me? Connectionless, it is not that connectionless means if a wire is there, then only it would be connectionless. If I want to talk to someone else, okay, I'll dial their number. So a bandwidth would be allocated between host A as well as host B, and that is nothing but the connection oriented. Is it clear? Whereas in case of connectionless, the packets would be just sent onto the channel, okay, and based upon the routing algorithm, will, as we will see, as well as the uh, uh, traffic within the network, the packets would be routed independently. And the protocol which is used for the connectionless service is UDP, that is user datagram protocol. In that transmission control protocol, it would be reliable and the data would be in order, it would be received. Whereas UDP, that it is a non-reliable. Okay. As I have said, the TCP is a connection oriented. That means first the connection has to be established. In case if we want the prompt message to be transferred, and if we are not dealing with the delay due to the transmission, then we can use this TCP. Whereas if we are least bothered about the prompt, the speed should be, if we are bothered about the time rather than the quality of the message which it receives, then it should go to the UDP or user datagram protocol. The next layer is the application layer, and in this application layer, again it is same as that of the one what we have discussed. It can deal with the various protocol like HTTP or FTP or SMTP or DNS, etc. So all these are the protocols which are which comes under this application layer. Okay, so you can see that these are the various protocols which comes under this application layer, transport layer, internet layer, as well as the data link layer, or we can say link layer, host to network layer also they used to come. Right? So we'll stop here, and in the next class we'll see. So this is a model. So it is a hybrid model. Since we'll be studying explicitly different layers of it is a combination of both the OSI as well as the TCP/IP model, and hence throughout this book we'll be studying these three layers in detail. Okay, so everyone is clear with this TCP/IP as well as the OSI-FS model. Any doubts? So we'll stop here and we'll continue in the next lecture.